I'd like to talk about mental health, what facilitates good mental health, so protective factors. But before that, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Ghazala at the Heart and Soul Cafe. If you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. I so appreciate it. And if you're here for the first time, welcome aboard. Thank you for coming. Let's talk. So, mental health and what are the things that facilitate good mental health? So, protective factors. Let's sort of pull those apart a little bit. And in a previous video, I talked about what mental health is. So I'm not going to go into that too much. This video is really all about things that we can put into place and some things that we can't put into place to facilitate good mental health. Okay, so the first thing is on an individual basis. So what kind of protective factors do we have there for our good mental health? Well, we've got self-confidence. Now, having self-confidence definitely does help in your, to keep mental health at its optimal level. Self-esteem and confidence, being sure of yourself is definitely helps. And if I talk about myself, because I am within my story, so I can do that, I haven't always been confident in my life. I experience situational anxiety. So a few years ago, when I decided that I wanted to be a mental health first aid instructor, which meant that I needed to stand up in front of people and talk to them about mental health, I struggled with that quite a lot because I had imposter syndrome, which is a belief that I'm not good enough to be here. Everyone else is, but I'm not. I had situational anxiety, so it was that feeling of everyone's looking at me and, I'm going to mess up here and I'm going to make a complete, bosh of things and I'm just going to make a complete idiot of myself. So, there's all those things that I had to overcome. Now, the way I overcame them was that I was so passionate about this subject. I have a psychology background. I've always been interested in what goes on up here. I had some teaching qualifications, so that also helped. So some things that I got some qualifications years ago, which then helped me, so much later in my life. But slowly but surely, as I began to educate myself to the extent where I believed that I have something to say, I have something to share, and it's not just my knowledge of mental health, as an instructor, but in life, I have enough life experience and skills that I can share. I feel that I can share with others, and I just felt that I had a lot to say. So I think slowly my confidence, developed in that. And it's just, sometimes it's throwing yourself in the deep end, isn't it? It's sort of putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation or out of your comfort zone, as they say. And I really did push that, even doing this, coming onto YouTube. It's only been a couple of weeks as I'm filming this video. It's only not even been 2 weeks yet. So this is throwing myself in the deep end and out of my comfort zone again, and I believe that sometimes in life you have to do that in order to progress, in order to move forward. You're not going to move forward if you don't sort of slightly take some risks and slightly push yourself, So there's that. So self-esteem, confidence, that helps. Things like problem solving. How good are you at solving problems? Do you allow problems to just take over, or do you think, well, okay, logically, let's pull this apart, let's see what we can do and what we can't do, and try and sort of solve problems that way. Not always easy, but again, it is doable. And how you manage stress. And I feel that stress is something that we get good at as we practice, as we're more mindful about stress and how stress affects us. Being mindful and knowledgeable about those things empowers us, and I believe that. So we are then more in control of how stresses are coming about and how they're impacting on us or not impacting on us. So we have a little bit more control over that aspect of our lives. Communication skills is another thing as well, because if you can communicate what you're experiencing and what you're feeling, that way you're better equipped to not so much just asking for help, but you can articulate what you're feeling and you can express what you're feeling. I think it helps, because if you feel that you're not able to express what you're wanting to say, you feel that you might start feeling that you're not understood, and that might mean that you sort of withdraw and you don't share, and you don't you don't share how you're feeling with anyone. And I think that then has an effect. It has a bit of a snowball effect then on your confidence levels and your self-esteem and everything else that I've just already mentioned. So there's that as well. Physical fitness, I think, plays a part as well in your protective factors, and they facilitate your mental health, because if you feel well physically, you're going to feel well mentally. There is such a strong parity between physical and mental health. And we don't really always think about that. Our physical health impacts our mental health impacts our physical health. Absolutely. So there's that as well. Okay. I think I've covered most of those. So individually, those are the things that if we have in place, and those skill sets that we could have in place do help as a protective factor when it comes to our mental health. Okay, and then there's environmental factors. So what comes within that? Well, things around us. It could be, what kind of support network do we have? If I talk about myself again, I have a very good, solid support network, and I think that did help in my life when I talk about losing my son. A combination of my individual skills that I had and the environmental support that I had. So, when I talk about environmentally, I'm talking about my family, my friends. So my support network were in place to facilitate and get me to a place where I could function again. Okay, so that was quite important. And family interaction with that comes into it as well. How much are we involved in each other's lives? I think plays a part as well. Absolutely. I think that's important. Good parenting. Now, when it comes to parenting, I do often think about this, and I suppose if I ever go on to talking about how I felt I was brought up, by my parents, there's some positives. There's definitely positives, which I can share on another video. But I think a lot of us do look back and think, how were we brought up, and how can we improve things as parents when it's our turn to be parents? How can we be better parents to our children than our parents were to us? So I think there's been quite a lot of that in my life. I think I've felt that, that in so many aspects, I felt that I could improve from how I was brought up to how I've gone on to, bringing up my children. So I think there's been quite a lot of that. But how you were brought up, we don't have much control of that, because our parents brought us up, and so we don't have a lot of control over that. What else do we have? Well, security and safety plays a part in that. How secure and safe do you feel in your life? Yeah, there's that. So some things we have control over, and other things that we don't have control over. Going back to that individual part of it again, I think I could have mentioned things like I went off to university later on in life, and by doing that, I feel that enhanced my confidence. It helped with my confidence. It wasn't just that I gained a qualification, like a degree in psychology. It meant that I also, along with obtaining a degree in psychology, I obtained a lot of confidence that I was lacking. So that self-doubt, and that's where the imposter syndrome came in. So I'm not good enough. That kind of thing came in, and it still does. As I say, years later, I still had that sort of issue in life. So yeah, there's your scholastic achievements can come into that, but those are things that you can improve on. You can go back to school anytime in life, and we can always be learning. And to be learning something in life, something new, is always good, because it just means having that continual mental growth. And if you have that kind of attitude, that's always good, always a good thing. To be learning something new all the time is definitely a good thing. So there's quite a lot of protective factors there to facilitate our mental health. I hope this video has been of help. I wanted to just cover some protective factors. In another video, I'm going to cover factors that aren't that won't facilitate, that have the so risk factors actually to mental health. So I'll cover those in another video. I wanted to keep it separate, really, rather than merge the two together. So thank you so much for listening and coming into this video and being a part of this. I really do appreciate it. I hope it's been of some help to you, and just shine some light on some aspects of mental health that you maybe hadn't thought of before. So hopefully it's done that. Please do share this video. Please do like. Please do comment. Let's get a discussion going about mental health. And please do subscribe, because we want to build on those numbers to build this community. All right. So thank you so much. Thank you for coming in. I do hope to see you again on the next video. In the meantime, please take care of yourselves and take care of your hearts and souls. Okay, thank you so much. Take care.